You hear me?
Yes.
Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to the June 17th, 2024 Franklin Planning Board meeting. This meeting is audio and video recorded as well as on Zoom. And the Zoom call-in number is 312-626-6799 with a code of 9579-388-9569. I guess, Amy, we'll just go to the first items. The continuation of a public hearing for 19 Dean Ave. I understand they're looking for to be continued. Your date, you're thinking the 22nd of July?
Yes.
Okay. Make a motion to continue 19 Dean Ave till July 22nd.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our next one would be also, I guess, they're looking for a continuation, which would be 240 East Central Street, which would be a first site plan application. They're looking to be continued as well. You're looking at July 22nd as well, or you want to push it out?
July 22nd should be fine.
July 22nd, so I make a motion to continue till July 22nd. All right, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Here we go again. Forge Parkway, this will be continuation, 6 Forge Parkway site plan application, and they're looking for a continuation as well. July 22nd?
Yep.
Okay, make a motion to continue till July 22nd.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we'll take care of some general business first. Item A, which would be a partial Form H for 25 Forge Parkway. If I could go to Amy from Department of Planning, if you could give us a brief update, Amy?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, the planning board approved a site plan on February 5th, 2024, including adding a 16,000 square foot warehouse addition, some paved equipment. They also came back with another site plan for additional parking in the front of the building. We're looking for a partial Form H to access the warehouse. They've listed their items of outstanding items, and Beta has provided a review.
Okay, thank you. Mike, did you get your eyes on this, if you could?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I actually, Beta did all the construction inspection
You
out
did,
there, and I
okay.
had a report available for that. I
Okay.
defer to Matt's comments on that.
Okay. Matt, you out there?
I am here, Mr. Chairman.
Hi, good evening, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Good, good. Matt, if you could give us an update on the, on Forge Parkway, please?
Sure. So, as Amy stated, it's my understanding that they're really looking at the new building at this stage rather than the ongoing site work at the front of the property. So on their outstanding item list, they were pretty comprehensive in the items that they need to complete out there. Some of them do involve some typical safety items that the board may be concerned with, such as site lighting, some guardrail, and parking lot striping. We did have a couple of updates on that Form H based upon our site walk out there. The first being that they did install the fire hydrant at the front of the building. They are still currently trying to get the pressure test on that completed, so it's not active yet. And they have installed the wall pack lights on the new building as well. So it's really just the parking lot lighting that they need to complete. We also noted that without the berming on the westerly side of the parking area, stormwater won't be fully directed to the subsurface infiltration system. They do have some gravel out there for a portion of it, but that's not really something that's going to hold up over time. The dumpster pads aren't installed yet as well. It's my understanding that they're going to continue with their construction dumpsters for quite some time for waste pickup. And we just noted that some of the erosion controls need some maintenance out there to protect the wetland resources. So other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have on the site.
Okay. You hit 3 or 4 of the items that I had, but I'll go to the rest of the board first. Start with Chris or Mark, if you could, any comment, question? Chris?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Jay? No. Good. Beth?
So if they're looking for a partial certificate in order to access the building, do you have to have an active fire hydrant in order to be able to enter the building safely? Is that a life safety item that you get an occupancy for, or do you have to have that done before you can go in?
I would think that, I'll defer to either Gus on that one, or
Yeah.
possibly the fire department. They did try testing it last week, there was an issue with not being able to hold pressure, and there's an issue with the valve, so they do have some work there to follow up on.
I think that would be my only question, is if we grant this, that they have proper fire hydrant, fire safety,
Yep. Okay.
and the lighting.
Yeah, I have some. Jen?
That was the only issue I was gonna also bring up, so nothing else.
Okay. I actually have similar comments to Matt. Site lighting, I think that's public safety, I think that needs to be done. Concrete walks, I don't know what the walks consist of, but if it's in and around the buildings, we need that done, as well as stairs, the guardrail, and the striping of the lot, and signage. I think those are all critical aspects of it, so I would like to see this done prior to any temp C of O, so I don't know how you wanna work it, but I don't wanna release this with that many outstanding items, as well as the fire hydrant. I think if they can get some of these things done and get these things done over the next 2 weeks, we bring them back in.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's online that, can address any of this, cause I don't think,
Anybody out there for, Forge Park?
Yeah.
Matt, would you agree?
Yes, I would just like to add the note that the stairs and walkways are associated with the front building, which I don't believe they're looking to occupy at this time. So there would be access to the rear building as it's at grade, the parking lot grade.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick question. They note on the items, outstanding items at the top, coat of paving and signage and line striping, required date of completion is 12/20/24. I mean, there's not gonna be any paving done in December, I'm sure.
No,
You know,
that's,
yeah.
if he wants a temp CO, he has to address these 4 items before he's gonna get the temp CO. I think it's all public safety. Mike?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add too, if, as far as the top course of pavement, that's probably fine for a partial CO to get in
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But-
Yep.
But one thing that Matt did mention on his notes was that the lack of a foam ledge treatment along the westerly edge of pavement, so that the stormwater is actually directed to the stormwater thing. So even if they do a temporary berm or some kind of asphalt berm along that edge, so the stormwater system will work as it's designed,
Okay.
that'd probably be appropriate too.
Okay. So we'll make a note that, temporary berm to control the water runoff as well. So, make a motion to just continue this till, what's the next meeting,
July 8th.
July 8th? Make a motion to continue the partial Form H till July 8th. If that's 2 weeks, hopefully they can get these things taken care of in the meantime. Do I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item would be of general business, would be the endorsement for 100 to 110 East Central Street. If I could go to Amy, please.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the planning board approved this plan on April 22nd. They've provided the conditions on the plans. The special permit conditions where the retaining wall will be monitored by Beta. The applicant will provide the parking for 100 East Central Street while they're under construction. This past the time that anybody can file anything against it, so
Okay.
they're all set to go.
Okay. Anybody have any comments or questions? Make a motion to endorse 100 to 110 East Central Street. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Then we'll go to item C, which is under general business as well. This will be an 81 P and A and R for Smithsville, Daniel Street. Amy, if I could go to you for a brief update on this one, please?
Sure. So the applicant originally submitted an 81P back in 2019. At the time, they did not have their roadway in. They're looking to move lot lines to adjust where the septic systems can go. So they've now come back, they've put the roadway in, the Form H has been approved, and now they're looking to move the lot lines. One of the things is they have, the final Form H was approved on April 22nd, 2024. The applicant is requesting the fee be waived of $150 since they paid it back in 2019.
Okay. So this is basic, is everybody okay with waiving the fee considering they already paid it once? Okay. This is basically just moving the lot line just a bit, just to accommodate the new septic system, correct?
Pretty weird.
Correct.
It's a little
Yeah.
odd.
They probably perked it after.
Is, can
Yep.
Yeah.
make it a little bit less odd. It's the best we can do.
I know. Well, this one's been out there for a while, too.
The third lot in the back is non-buildable. That was the
Correct.
agreement when they created this two-lot subdivision.
Correct.
So in trying not to disturb much of that lot was the point of moving the lot lines.
And they still fall within a lot of guidelines,
Mhm.
regulation.
Can make a motion to waive the fee.
Yep,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to endorse the 81P plan, division of land of Smithsville Farm LLC.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we'll go to, this will be a, new public hearing, right? Continue?
Continue.
Continue, okay. Continued public hearing for preliminary subdivision for Balsam Estates. If you just wanna approach the table and give us your name and address and firm, please.
Joel DeRico, Franklin, applicant.
Amanda Cavalieri with Gary and Hellman.
Okay, before you guys get going, I'll go to Amy first from Department of Planning. Amy, can I go to you for a quick brief?
Sure, thank you,
Please.
Mr. Chairman. Just kind of an overview, they originally submitted a plan for 4 buildable lots. It was submitted on March 29, 2024. The board has an extension till August 5th, 2024 to render a decision. There's been 5 waivers that have been requested on the preliminary subdivision. Plans revised are reducing the number of buildable lots from 4 to 3. They've offered 2 public parking spaces to allow access to the town-owned land. Previously, it's been mentioned that typically with preliminary subdivision plans are required to provide that it's buildable without any waivers, which we have not received. A letter was provided by the fire back in April, that still exists, concerns with the dead-end street, the length of the dead-end street.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, I'll go to you next, please, if I could.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did review this latest edition of the plan and had just a couple of comments. As Amy had mentioned, the new plan for the subdivision has been reduced to 3 lots from the previously approved 4 lots. There will still be a need for a waiver for the extension of Kimberly Ave, whereas previously they were looking to extend it 400 feet beyond the current end. This latest plan is proposing to extend it 250 feet, so it's a little bit shorter extension, but it does exceed the 600-foot allowable length for a dead-end street as required in the subdivision rules and regs. We also note that the elimination of one of the house lots has allowed the design of the cul-de-sac to be completely located within the proposed layout of the cul-de-sac, so they don't need an easement for the rest of the cul-de-sac, so that's they wouldn't need a waiver for that, so that's a positive. And I did just note that on the proposed cul-de-sac, it's shown as a 50-foot paved radius. We just for recommend going to 45 feet. That's what's required in the rules and regulations subdivision, so a little bit smaller than what they had shown.
Okay. Amanda, you want to give us a quick brief, because I think I may have thought of something
Yep,
to change this thing around.
absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as Amy and Mike had said, we've made a bunch of changes to the project since we were last in front of you. We've reduced the road pavement, or the roadway length, by 150 feet. We went from 446 down to 295, so. We've also added the so the right-of-way of the paved area is within the right-of-way, so it doesn't go as far as an easement that was proposed before. We've added to the 2 public parking spaces and a pedestrian easement to access the open space, and we've relocated the infiltration basin to the rear of the development. We've added a sidewalk to the north side as well to incorporate access around and through the open space. And I know when we were last here, one of the concerns, or one of the comments, was to reduce it down to 2 lots. And either way, that would kick us to zoning board of appeals, because right now it's a non-conforming lot, it doesn't have frontage. Back in 2021, the town purchased the abutting Labasti property that's now the open space, and we believe that that created a hardship on this parcel. Looking at when the original developments were created for Maple Crest and Bridle Path, at both ends of the cul-de-sac, there was a specific opening that was left between 56 and 57 feet on either side that would allow that to continue through in the future, or the ability to continue through in the event that they wanted to develop that. Now, by that piece not being incorporated into that, that is now a non-conforming lot. To create 2 lots, again, we would have to create some sort of paper road or common drive to get back there, but those lots would be non-conforming. The proposed development that we're showing right now is 3 lots. All lots conform to the current zoning regulations by area, lot depth, width, and zoning setbacks. We would extend the water. Actually, no, I apologize. It will be private septic and private water, so we're not extending the water main in that location. And we believe that this is a better layout for, and a good compromise between the 2 and the 4. Again, if we create the 2 lots, we're gonna have to go to ZBA. ZBA has not been prone to grant variances for lots that don't conform to create buildable lots. That's been my history with them. What else? I think that's pretty much it. The road length came into play between 1998 and 2000, when the bylaws were amended. So that was after the original developments were created for Kimberly and Bridle Path. In addition, there was also a development that was proposed back in 2020 for Maple Hill, before the open space was created or purchased by the town. And the residents at that point had indicated that the prior development for the extension for this parcel that was planned was denied, and concerned with cut-through traffic with the other development. And this creates a shorter road length, 3 lots instead of 4. And again, just a better layout, overall layout, and complies with the zoning bylaws, with the exception of the length of the road.
Okay. Thank you. Before I go to the board, I know the last time you left, we wanted you to get into the 2-lot situation, so here's what I was thinking. Make it 2 lots, existing cul-de-sac, take the cul-de-sac out and move it down, and put the cul-de-sac right at the end of the teardrop of the other existing cul-de-sac, just extend it. So you create 2 lots.
Do you want to point on the plan what you're talking about?
Yeah.
That might be easier.
Yeah, not just a bit. It's just an option, because the extension of the road isn't gonna fly. thought would be, just take this cul-de-sac, square it off, because you have lot right here, you got lot one, lot two, and the access to the back property. And there's your two lots. We're not gonna go with the extension of the road, even if it's 250, 300 feet. Because there's many other parcels out there right now that will fall in this jurisdiction, and that zoning bylaws there for a reason. So, or you can go to ZBA and take that approach. So you get two options. You don't need the answer tonight, but that's what you got on the table. You can think it through, you can come back with a revised drawing, take into consideration what everybody said in the previous meetings, DPW, Fire Department, Beta, and go from there.
In order to get the frontage, you'd have to create, it's 150 feet of frontage. So in order to box that off, you have 50 feet there at the entrance. You have to have 150 feet on one side and 150 feet on the other
Well,
side.
you bring the road right up to the end and you put the cul-de-sac on the new property. Put it right into the new property, right where the first driveway is on the left. Bring it
That's
right in.
still extending the
I
cul-de-sac.
know, but I think that'll be acceptable to the board. You're not really extending the road, you're just modifying the cul-de-sac. And you're getting the frontage what you require. So you have, like I said, you have two different options. You could go that road, or you can go ZBA. We don't need an answer tonight, but I think those are your couple options. Mr. DeRico, go ahead.
What would you think that the ZBA would do for this project?
Based on what they've approved lately, they give you the thumbs up.
But what you see there?
That's just me, from what they've been approving lately. I mean, you can have conversation with them. I would talk to them before you go visit them in
Oh, I
general business.
understand.
Amy?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Chairman, I think we don't know. We don't
No,
know.
I don't know,
It's
but I'm just
completely
saying.
up to the ZBA to
Yeah.
make that decision, so.
I would
Can't
approach them in
advise.
general business and get their thoughts.
For this layout.
Not for this layout, no. What he's talking about is for two, right?
Yeah, well-
Frontage variance for two lots, not for what you're showing on this plan.
But if we extend the cul-de-sac, we don't need to go to ZBA.
Correct.
Correct.
But you would clean off, so basically those two abutting neighbors at the end of the cul-de-sac right now would get more grass area.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah, so it'll
What
square it off.
economically, that's an extra added expense if you're only gonna have two lots, Mr. Chairman. And
I
you
get it.
recall
I know,
years ago how it works, when you and the family were involved in things,
I know.
and, economically, it's, I'd like to just speak to the board a little bit about the 600 foot, if I could,
Sure, you wanna,
please.
yep.
You folks can waive almost anything if you choose. That's your ability as a planning board. I learned years ago that the best way to foretell the future is the past. In many instances, in many situations. I'm not gonna call out all the names, but you got Amy's Way off of Lincoln Street. And these are grandfathered dead-end streets. I call them grandfathered because they were put in
They were
before
prior
the
to the-
600.
Prior to
They
the
are
bylaw.
considered grandfathered. And I think the board might want to think about that for a minute, because Bridle Path, Hancock, Amy's, Madison, Indian, Overlook, Tanglewood, Thomas, Sherry, Marianne, Stone Ridge condos, Highwood condos, they're all, well, the condo projects are private, so they can go as long as they want dead end. And there's the list of them, and they go to 3/4 of a mile, Bridle Path. And if you think about comments that I provided the board in writing from 3 retired firemen who have had from 36 years to 20 years in working experience, plus a present captain who provided me with what happened on December 18th, where there were 116 calls when we had some trees down on some roadways and 4 or 5 inches of rain. And as far as a disaster is concerned, the only one that I was told about, I wasn't here, was the hurricane of 1938, where caskets floated in Woonsocket into the river. And since then, we had a blizzard of 78, but the next day the roads were not bare, but they were passable in this town. So when you go to the best way to foretell the future is the past, and retired firemen who had rank stated that there's never been any incidents with Franklin residents receiving fire services 12 months of the year, I believe that the 600-foot law is a very unnecessary law. And when these streets have never had issues since they've been built with the fire department, I don't see that extending a road off a grandfathered now. So my road was never 600, it was maybe 450, and now we've pulled it back. You know, this becomes, to take another lot away becomes economically unfeasible. And then you add the cul-de-sac aspect of it. I could handle the cul-de-sac aspect of it with 3 lots. But when you go to 2, it just, you know, I just like some understanding from the board, if I could have it, and the owner of the land, if she could have it, that there haven't been instances in this community where dead-end streets have been the cause of a loss of life.
Well,
And that's what I bring to the board, to say that there haven't been instances, and for us to hang our hat on a law that, you know, I'll call it unnecessary, but, I mean, when you've got, this one here is 3/4 of a mile from Lincoln Street, and this one here, I mean, they go on and on. Those are 2 dead-end streets to the open space. So I thought it was convenient to give 2 parking spaces. I mean, it was being considerate, trying to do the right thing.
Amanda?
If I may too, just looking at the original subdivision for Maple Crest, if we extend the cul-de-sac and give lots, the 2 lots at the end, more grass area, we lose their frontage, so we'd be creating a non-conforming lot for them. That the cul-de-sac rounding is giving them their 150 feet. So we wouldn't be able to do that.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment?
Sure.
Trying to find the right words. Hold on a second. I'll get there. I understand you have the right to develop a property. You have the right to do something. But in my opinion, not every property has to be maxed out with waivers, and waivers from a pretty significant part of our subdivision regs. Letters from DPW, letters from planning, letters from abutters, letters from public safety, whether I'm gonna tend to look towards the ones that are currently working for the town, not the ones that are retired and maybe said that, yeah, this is great. I'm going with who's employed by the town right now, sorry. I just don't feel you need to develop every square inch, and it's really not my concern, and I'm gonna keep saying this anytime this comes up from now on, if somebody makes a profit trying to develop their property. That's not anywhere in our bylaws, anywhere in our subdivision regs that say the developer needs to make a profit, so we have to waive things to get it to work for you. I don't care, sorry, I really don't. So I'm gonna stick to my guns on this one, you can make it work, get a variance, come in for the 2 lots, great. If you can't, then for some reason in my mind, it just says it's not meant to be. Not meant to be a developable property. That's how I feel about it.
Jay? Thank you, Beth.
I think I've
I mean,
been clear on my view on this before. I think I kind of stand a little bit different than everyone else, but that's why there's 5 of us, right?
Exactly.
So I personally think that you've done about as good as you can there. I don't have the same concern. I feel sympathetic and probably side much more with the arguments that you folks have presented rather than the concerns presented by the other folks up here. So I guess that's the summary of my position on this. So I feel comfortable with this, all things considered, mostly because I'm not sure how many more of these were to come up. If there was another 100 of them that could come up in town, you'd probably get a different opinion from me. But considering that there's probably a mere handful, not that I've gone through and calculated them out, that coupled with, just housing crunch that we see in eastern Massachusetts and in our own town, I think this is about as good as we can do with this. So I
Thank you.
have sympathy for your arguments, and that's really just, my position is 1 of 5, so.
Chris?
Similar opinion to Jay, but I'd also lean on what Beth said in regards to the current and acting DPW and fire department expressing their concerns over the roadway. So that's where I'm at on that.
Mark?
No, I also echo Beth and Chris's concerns on the length of the cul-de-sac, and I support what, fire department and the DPW recommend.
Good. Jeff?
Our job is to make sure that we ensure that bylaws that are in place are followed, for that health and safety of the residents of Franklin is a priority. I think bylaws change for a reason, and in this instance, I actually don't think necessarily looking to the past is the best way to look at the future, as history tells us, with more and more significant, severe weather events. I don't want, a waiver that we grant after a bylaw had been changed to be the reason why, a property can't be accessed with more and more frequent concerning events. That road length, which unfortunately was inherited, but being, what it is today and with the feedback we've gotten for the town is my primary concern of why I don't think that extending the roadway further is acceptable.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
So, from what I'm hearing, and more so of a, I guess, an engineering opinion and personal, I guess, comment for the board is, this is a 4-acre piece of land. The board does have the ability to waive the requirements of the bylaws. The extension of the roadway for maxing out the property, as you had said, which this is by far nowhere near maxing out a 4-acre parcel in areas of land in town that people are doing now. This is consistent with the neighborhood. The concern of safety and a tree falling. If a tree falls in the forest, are you gonna hear it? The local bylaws have street trees in there. So now, should the bylaws for the town, for the street trees get taken out? I mean, planning for the crystal ball events, that, would they ever happen? You have 3 houses. You're not impacting the school systems. You're not impacting traffic. You're not degrading the area. You're consistent with the surrounding areas, and it's going for 200 feet really to get frontage. We've offered up minimizing the driveway lengths and having turnarounds, reducing pavement. We're trying to make this conform as much to the subdivision standards as it can be for a 4-acre piece of land that this property owner and developer would like to build 3 homes on. the stormwater mitigation is all managed on site. The crystal ball event that there's gonna be a tragedy or a natural disaster in 250 feet of road is somewhat above the top as far as trying to plan ahead. You put 2 lots on there, cutting off that cul-de-sac, giving the 2 at the end additional grass area is great, but now you're creating non-conforming lots. Going to ZBA, my history has been pre-existing non-conforming. They're not budging unless you have a whole slew of research and title search and when things were created, to be able to put 2 non-conforming lots. That opens up a bigger can of worms for the town and setting a precedence than for a particular lot that, again, the town has the ability, and I know you said that you're going with the safety requirements from, you know, the fire chief and everything like that, but 295 feet, I think, to the end of that cul-de-sac, for 3 homes, I think I don't think it's a very, you're planning for natural disasters for this small section of road, but there's other areas of town that may have been approved in the past or currently existing that are just as much, you know, likely to have a situation like that.
So,
May I ask one more question?
yeah, go ahead.
Could you comment on parcel A, you have it states not to be considered a separate building lot at this time. So what does that mean?
This one?
Yep,
That's
Typic-
detention pond.
yep, but,
That can't be built,
so it shouldn't say separate building lot at this time, it should just be not to be considered a separate building lot.
yeah, I don't know how that got in there, that's fine.
Okay.
It's a detention basin, it has to be developed for detention, you can't do anything else with that piece. And it's required to have a separate lot.
So I mean, we're basing it on recommendations from department heads, public safety, and there's other parcels in town that I'm fully aware of, which will set precedent for the same exact scenario for other parcels to come in front of us like this. And I believe that's why, for public safety, for DPW, and for everybody with the extension, that's why it was put in place. It was also to help control, build out of adjoining properties that abut pieces like this as well, as a controlled growth figure, so. I would say, go back to the drawing board, try it again if you, I think, I see some of the people in the audience, I'm gonna ask you to come up, but I think as we last left, I think 2 lots would be feasible. I think it's just a matter of you trying to figure out how to get to the 2 lots, that's all. And I don't need to know tonight, but I'm gonna ask go ahead, and then I'm gonna ask the audience
Mr.
if
Chairman,
they
I
want.
just have one question, one last question of the board.
Yep.
That I learned from a credible 36-year fire department employee, lieutenant, who just retired within the last year. I just learned something from him. And I'm gonna ask the planning board if you're aware, or I'm gonna ask you the question. Are you aware that the fire department has chainsaws?
If that were the case, and I'm sure that they do,
They do.
our consideration to what Amy's saying, Amanda's saying, is if the fire chief said, or the the deputy fire chief said, hey, it's only 195 feet or 295 feet, okay, that makes sense. I think our opinion's very different. They do not have that opinion. Chainsaws, bulldozers, front loaders or not,
Well,
that's the opinion that we're basing our decision, or part of our decision on.
but that's what I was told.
Okay.
Right.
So, let's go to the audience. If you just want to approach the mic, give your name and address, please, and if it could be kind of brief, that'd be appreciative.
Excuse me, Kip Brady, 36 Kimberly Avenue. I'll keep this quick because I know we want to go home and see the Celtics.
Most important.
We've been at this for 19 years. The original 2005 subdivision was declined by the planning board for the very reasons that you're raising today. Now we're talking about other credible people and let our own department heads as carrying more weight than people who are in the position and are responsible for the decisions that are made by the planning board. That being said, I think on the flip side, the planning board puts itself in a fair amount of legal peril by approving something against its own recommendations, especially when the applicant is offering quid pro quo offerings of parking and donations to the food pantry in exchange for these waivers. Again, this would be, I think, good evidence for someone who would ever want to challenge this legally. With respect to growth and development, that's a bit of a spacious argument because, as we know, and in fact, some board members even said during their interviews to run for the planning board, that every house of this type that's put into town costs the town money. And adding, a road that the town would be responsible for, again, would add increased burden to the town with respect to expenses. And then finally, as I said, we've been at this for 19 years, and not once has Mr. DeRico come to the neighborhood and ask us what we wanted. It's always been, this is what I'm doing, and there's really nothing you can do about it. So that being said, our position has been consistent for 19 years on this. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Go Celtics.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, I had one last thing I forgot about, if I may. There are actually examples of your what we suggested last time. We had thought about a driveway with two houses. If I may approach, I have
Sure.
some printouts. This is a development in Charles River. I'm not going to mention the street because it's not my street and I don't want to
Sure.
disclose it, but this is exactly what we had been talking about the last time, and that there's been driveways added to the end of an existing cul-de-sac, and if you see, there are two non-conforming lots that go off of that two houses have driveways for. So what's nice about that is it's, again, you get two houses in there. Everybody's happy. There's driveways that they need to maintain and no town road that needs to be maintained by the town. So that's just an example. And there are numerous other examples in town, if we're talking about precedent, where such
Could you give this to Amanda so she can
sure.
take a peek at it as well?
Do we know when that was approved?
I'm not sure. Back in, what, 90?
Thank you. Sorry.
Nope, 89 or 90 maybe? Go ahead, Mr. Derico, one more time.
Mr. Chairman, initially, when I filed this plan, I came in with a private road. And I would open an account,
It was still an extension though, that was the kicker.
but I would open an account that would fund the top coat 40 years down the road, that nobody would be responsible for. It would be a private road, just like that gentleman is speaking of.
Yep.
And because it was a private road, a driveway, so to speak, it's exempt from the 600-foot auspices. I can do that. I can provide the board with a document that will have an account with a sum of money in it that will grow in 30 years. And I'm not referring to a standard savings account that you get at the bank.
Okay.
You know, I did well funding my son's college educations in Wall Street, and it's the same mechanism. So I'm just telling you, I would be willing to do that, and still provide access to the open space, still put a street light down there so that people could go daytime parking only for the open space. Daytime. You know, we don't want things going on at night because trouble ensues at night. I'm just saying that my plan initially was, and then you brought up it, and rightfully so, you questioned, you said, well, these people are gonna come to us later on down the line. Well, if it's in a deed restriction, and it's authored with a covenant, and there's a financial instrument in place, there's nothing that really anyone has to worry about. The fellow that plows their driveways would plow the roadway. And the company out of Foxborough cleans the catch basins. So
Okay.
it can be done if you would allow it. If you would allow a private roadway.
I think I think the two
You
lots.
could check with Mr. Sorrell about the private roadway, and I think he'd say it's exempt from the 600 feet.
I would think you'd wanna pursue the two lots. I would talk to zoning board of appeals, go in for general business, see what their thoughts are,
May I ask?
and then come back with a rendering to tweak it. I think the board speaks that three and four is not gonna work, but two will. So, I leave it at that. If you do a little homework on it, I thought we agreed at the last meeting that we were gonna approach it with two, and that's what I thought I was gonna see, but then I saw three.
The two still has a, like I said, the two still has an extension, even if it's a private driveway, because of the zoning
Okay.
bylaws require to have, the
Mhm.
driveway has to come off of the frontage. You can have a common driveway, but you have to have
Mhm.
the legal frontage.
Frontage.
We'd be creating those two non-conforming lots, and again, history with the ZBA, it's, now we're setting a precedence with the ZBA, and they're gonna say no.
I would approach them in general business and see what their thoughts are. But I wouldn't spend any more money, but I would just approach them. That make sense? So we
I have to
continue?
do what you suggest.
I think, does the board wanna continue it, or would they like a vote tonight?
Probably continue.
Let's see, probably continue.
Let's continue it. You
May I
wanna
just
get to,
make, just a suggestion?
sure?
I don't wanna keep going in circles and having
Yeah.
the same conversation we're having at every single meeting, because we come back with a plan that doesn't represent what we're asking for, so if you can't make it work, then we should vote and close it, if you think that's not an option.
I think we give them the option to go to ZBA on this last shot. This is what, three times at bat, four
Like-
times at bat, but
I would just say, sorry, Mr. Chairman, if you
sure,
don't
go
mind.
ahead.
Given this is a preliminary subdivision, if the ZBA is the direction they're gonna go and it's granted, they can come back with a definitive subdivision. If it's not, then they could refile if the board decided to take a vote tonight, or
I'd just,
continue.
I'd just
But,
rather leave it
um,
open for their sake at this point. Give them one more shot, going to
I
ZBA
guess
or
the
retweak
question,
it.
will they come back with two lots?
Well, that's up to
ZBA or
them.
no ZBA?
Well, if
That's-
they
that's
come
what
back
I'm
with,
asking.
if
If
they
you're
come
not
back
gonna
with
com-
more than
yeah.
two lots, then the vote's gonna be that night, and it's probably not gonna be a yes vote. So, I'd leave it at that.
And what about the ZBA? They can do, are they independent of you folks?
Yes.
Totally different board.
Right, I know that, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No, nothing to do with us, land-wise or anything, so.
Okay.
If they get, if they went to ZBA and they were granted a frontage variance, it would not be a subdivision anymore,
Correct.
correct? And they would go straight for building permits. If that's the direction you're going. For two lots, they only have, 60 feet access.
Yep.
They wouldn't even be a subdivision. So
So 30
that
feet
would
of frontage?
put us out of, if it's a frontage variance of what you're going for.
And what
That's
if
why I
they-
said go to-
What if the ZBA wanted to grant more than two lots?
Well, that's not our decision.
It's not, yeah.
It's not our
it's like-
decision.
Like Amy said. it's not our
Just
decision.
asking.
It's the ZBA.
Just asking.
ZBA's
One would hope
decision.
that you do the thing that we're asking you to do
Yeah.
and not go above and beyond and try to get ZBA to give you something that you know we're not going to give you. That is a regular occurrence.
Yeah.
You don't get it at planning board, you go to ZBA, you get a variance for what you really want. So let's do, and be honest here, what we're asking for. 2 lots. If you can't do 2 lots via a frontage variance, and you can't come back here and get something worked out to get the 2 lots that we're asking for, then we close the hearing and make a vote and say what we wanna say, whether it's yes or no.
Yep.
That's clear when you make a vote. But enough of going around in circles, trying to make this work so you can get 4 lots or 3. You hear what we're asking. This is months now.
Yeah, you have something? Yeah, just introduce yourself, name and address.
Laura Dombrowski, 20 Kimberly Avenue. I just want to say thank you. I feel that you've listened to the homeowners on Kimberly Ave and Madison Avenue, and I think that's, fantastic. I think the 2 homes, you know, I believe there may be another variance, because I think you can't go beyond 12 dwellings, so that would be 14 dwellings, albeit I think that's very reasonable. And I think at the end of the day, it's 2 homes, Mr. DeRico gets to build, Fitzgerald's get to sell their land. The neighborhood's happy, it's consistent with our neighborhood, it's just a continuation of Kimberly. Town Planning Board also gets to extend sewer, water, by, you know, there can be some inherent issues with a private road, and I think private is important to Mr. DeRico, but I think public may be in the best interest of everybody. That's really it, thank you.
Thank you. So make a motion to continue, and go into August on this one?
We are
give them
looking at
time.
August 5th, that's the deadline, so as if the applicant is willing to grant an extension for the decision.
Okay, just write a
Is-
letter to Amy. Okay, so make a motion to extend to August 5th.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, sorry.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had to move our master plan, our public meeting, that was going to occur last week, but is now on July 10th. We hope we get as many people as we can, as feedback on the goals that the, subcommittees and the master plan committee has come up with. So hopefully anyone out there is listening can attend. We'll be right here in the council chambers and, on Franklin TV and on Zoom, for any feedback, and we'll have those published on the master plan committee website prior to the meeting.
Amy, what day of the week is July 10th?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
Great.
All good?
Yep.
Yeah, anybody else? Nothing? Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.